Chapter 11. Brian. I couldn't wait until the next day. I wanted this night to be over, head into work, and wait for Val to come to the shop. I sat and watched at the door, and when it opened, my pulse quickened. I stood, and in walked Caden. Walking around to the entrance, we met each other. I stood staring until Caden said, "What the fuck are you doing here?" "I work here, remember, and I own a percentage of this place, or have you forgotten?" I barked. I didn't want any questions. I just wanted to see Val. I was nervous that he wouldn't show up. "I'm sorry, Cade." "No problem. If I'd known you were going to get here early, I would have stayed in bed with my man and baby. Amy's so cute and she's almost walking." I didn't want to hear about babies walking, and the new dog Caden and Gray had bought. I wanted all of that, but I wasn't even close to making that dream come true because of the work I had to put in before that came to fruition. I turned pacing, walking over to the coffee bar. "Do you want a cup of coffee?" I asked. "No, and looking at how your hands are trembling, I'd say you don't need any more coffee," Caden offered. It wasn't the coffee that had me on edge, but when I opened this morning, I recognized some faces, and the others I'd only recognize these guys if they had their pants down below their ankles. I'd forgotten I'd had dates with just about every new boy I'd hired from the college, and 1 in 3 I'd probably fucked. Caden sat at the bar alongside me as the college crowd strolled in, and the waiters were taking orders, and the baristas were busy with the specialty espressos. When I glanced over to concentrate on the door and Caden's conversation, he had been rattling off about how the new puppy was just like raising a child, which I had no knowledge of. "I think I have to get another puppy, because it seems he's lonely. He can't understand why the baby doesn't play with him more." "How do you know this, Cade?" "The puppy can't talk." My mind was wandering, and nervous about Val coming here, I changed the subject. "Why didn't you tell me Val had called about a job interview?" "Because you would have gone nuts like you are now. You're supposed to be on vacation, and yet you're here. I hope you have someone to keep the store open, because Lane and Scott are going to be at the ranch for a retreat with me and Grail, and Amy." "That sounds great," I said. I had assumed that I would be invited, but it was more of a couple's retreat, and I didn't want anyone with me but Val. "We weren't going to invite anyone else, but I guess you'll tell everyone, and I'll have to make an excuse, which I'm not good at, and our friends will be pissed off, especially Cole and Keys once they know you're going to be there. I don't know why our friends think they have to be invited every time we go to the cabin. Because Grail has these wonderful scenic places, and they're much larger than these homes they build in a day without asking the owner's input. When I get married, I'm going to build a large house like the one." I was going off on a tangent, and I knew it after Caden stopped me. He wasn't the only one who had dreams. "Wait a minute. Did I miss something last night? I know you're a fast worker, but who would be stupid enough to accept an invitation of marriage from you, Brian? A man who isn't quite divorced." The chimes went off every time someone entered, and Cade glanced in the direction of the door. "No, you didn't fool that boy. He's not much older than you, and you and Grail have about the same age difference as me and Val. I have to get this." I left Cade with his doom and gloom attitude to meet Val, who looked stunning with his blue jeans and blue shirt which matched his eyes. He wore an Indian necklace of blue and white. "You look marvelous this time of the morning. Come with me and let me introduce you to my friend Caden." Caden stood with a non-judgmental stare. He extended his hand. "I'm happy to meet the boy who stole Brian's heart. Would you like a drink of one of our signature coffees?" Cade disappeared behind the counter, not waiting for an answer, and he came back with 2 coffee cups as Val and I sat at the counter. "We're usually busy by now, but all those sleepyheads who stayed up until dawn on a Saturday night must be sleeping in, and then they'll head over here," Caden said with a smile. "Have you tried these muffins with that coffee?" And he placed 2 muffins filled with raisins and walnuts in front of us. He stood there waiting for Val to drink the coffee and noticed that the cups had initials just like ours. B loves V. There was a heart in the center of the cup. Val raised the cup to his mouth. This tastes divine. Who are B and V? Caden glanced over at me, slanted his head. Are you going to tell him or do you want me? Cade chirped with a sly grin. If you leave us alone for a few minutes, then maybe I can explain. Val bit into his muffin, just as his stomach made a growling noise. You should eat more. I think you're too thin. Val raised an eyebrow. There I went trying to control. I'd have to stop this if I was ever going to get Val to trust me. Maybe he couldn't afford to spend money on food the way some of us can, or he's just a thin guy, Caden added to my comment. Caden glanced at me. I offered Caden a sour face with narrowed eyes before he took the hint that I didn't want him in the middle of my conversation. Before Caden sauntered off into his office, he said, "You have a great guy here," and he tapped Val on the shoulder. I guessed he realized what he'd done. He should have known better than to say anything of that sort to Val, but he tried to clean it up. I never intervened with him and Grail after he gave me marching orders to stay out of his business and stay away from him when Grail was around. When Val finished eating his muffin, he took another sip of coffee and hummed. I made an admission. It appeared that around Val, I had been doing that a lot lately. I created this brand because I was so upset that I couldn't find you, Val. You were here all the time and… There's no need to tell me this. I understand. I was feeling the same way about you. I thought I had lost you forever, and now that I've found you, I don't know what to do. You don't know it, but I've been working all my life from the day I could crawl. I do know, but I don't understand how you went from being a child star and commercial success to riding a bus and standing at a road stop. Did you just give it all up and decide to see the country? There are better ways to see the country than doing it on Greyhound, he chuckled. I guess there are, I said. Then he told me about the time his manager took his money and made millions, and those were the good times, but what goes up must come down, he said, and it fell on him. The manager lost the money, came to him one day, and said that he needed to move on, and that was how he ended up where he was today. Trying to get to New York to start all over again, but this time a bit older and much wiser. When I glanced over at Val, he was on his second cup of coffee, and Caden was pitching in as a waiter, because the students were piling in just to get a taste and whiff of the coffee and tea, not to forget Augustine's baked goods. I'd bet they spent more money in the last year on coffee and pastries than on their books. I turned around to see if all the employees were present, and then I saw Taylor, my new hire, coming in late. I excused myself and let Val enjoy himself with the coffee. Val appeared to understand. He seemed impressed that I would think of him when naming a coffee blend with him in mind. I had to head Taylor off, and I met him in the break room. This is your first day on the job, and you're late, man. I promise you, Brian, that I won't be late again. He walked close to me and made me nervous. He knew the rules. You know that we can't be together like this. I told you on our first date that if you were going to work here, we couldn't have a relationship. Besides, nothing happened. It was just a date for drinks and a burger. I wanted to get to know you and see if you were a good fit. For you. No, I barked, for this business. I thought we had gotten things ironed out. You work here, and you don't date management. I'm planning on hiring managers to help out, because our business is exploding, and we can't keep up with everything. If you want to be in line for a promotion, you can't carry on a relationship with anyone at the top, and that goes especially for me. I thought you liked me, and I heard from some of the students that you did date a few of the guys who worked here. Taylor strutted close to me and placed his hand on my collar and palmed his cock and licked his lips. There was a time when that would have gotten my cock pulsating and my balls tight, but not today and not anymore. Something had come over me, and that someone was Val. All I could see was him. That was before Val, and before I understood that I didn't need to look for anyone. If it was meant to be, that someone would find me, and he did. There's a boy I've fallen in love with, Taylor, and he's taking all my attention now, so if you want to keep this job, then I suggest you come in on time and stay your distance. I'll stay my distance for now, but I know there will come a time when you call me, and don't worry, I'll be there for you. He licked his lips and left me standing there, wondering what I'd gotten myself into. When I returned to Val, he was talking to Parker, who made his rounds early in the morning to pick up coffee and donuts for their employees, and Tony, who stayed with their children, while Parker did all the ancillary work. It appeared Tony was more of a homebody, and well, Parker loved to interact with people. Standing nearby Parker, he glanced over at me. I see Caden has my order ready. Then he turned to Val. Don't be a stranger, Val. Wounded Inked is around the corner, and the rose is on the house. I bet Handsome here would love to see it on your back. Parker gave out a coy grin and placed his hand over his mouth. I'm talking too much, but that's what I do. Bye now. He threw kisses to both of us, strolled to the coffee counter, and paid for his takeout. He's an interesting guy, and a likable one too. I don't like too many men, but he's close to my age, and it would be good to just hang with someone who doesn't want anything from you but a good conversation. Do you mean me? I asked. Because I do want something from you, and I want a conversation where we don't have to share it with all of Nevermore, and speaking of that, here comes Shawn. I told him last night that I can't date him because I'm interested in someone else, Val said, glancing at Shawn as he hurried over to us. How did he take that? And I hope you were talking about me. Of course I meant you, and no, he didn't take it well. He got drunk, and I had to drive him home. I have his car keys, and he's probably looking for me now. Val raised his hand, and Shawn wobbled over to us looking like a bum as usual. His clothes wrinkled, hair appeared as if he didn't have a comb or didn't give a fuck. When he got near, I noticed that he wore one white sneaker and one blue one. What is it with all these young guys falling for daddies? Shawn aimed his indignation at me and Val. Val winced and took hold of my hand. You're still drunk, Shawn. Maybe you should find one that will help you with your issues, which is drinking too much, Val said, his voice soft and showing concern. I have a daddy. What is your problem, Val? I intervened. His problem is you, and you can't take a hint. Here's your keys and get some help. Shawn reached for his keys, turned to an empty space at the T section, ambled over in that direction, put his head down and appeared to sleep, until I saw Caden saunter out of his office. He walked over to Shawn and said something, and then raised him up by his elbow. As Caden and Shawn passed, Caden stopped and said, I'm going to take him home and call Grail to pick me up. I shouldn't be long. Can you stay and watch the place until I get back? Shawn is in a bad way. Shawn protested, No, I'm not. I just don't understand why no one loves me. I love you, Shawn, Caden said. Just not the way you want me to. I love you too, Val added. As a friend. And Shawn appeared to understand that when his eyes welled, and he bit his bottom lip, then he headed for the door with Caden. It was about 10 a.m., and I hadn't had a minute alone with Val before he said, I have to go. My boss asked me to fill in for him and clean up the place before we open tonight. When am I going to see you, Val? Pick me up after I get off tonight. I'll text you the time. Then he smiled and rose from the seat. Where are you going? I asked. To clean up and get some rest. I'll probably need it now that I'm dating. Oh, that smile. It reached his beautiful blue eyes, and everything inside of me fell apart, and I grinned like an insane man.